So good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Tunji Akintokun, and what I want to do is just probably spend very little bit of time giving back my background and what I've done and what I do in my day job, and probably in terms of navigating the city in my job and I guess my career so far, probably just give you some nuggets of things I've observed and picked up and learned along the way, which hopefully may help some of you that might be early in your career, or some of you that are either in the second or third trimesters of your careers. I'm in the last trimester of my career, so I had the nod last year to retire, so which I decided to defer for 5 years. But I think the word used before was about passion. I have my passions, and you'll see them come out as to why probably in the next 5 years I will retire out of work and probably pursue the passions that I do today. So where should we start? So I guess this is how I lead my life. So tell people what you're going to do it, which people often don't do, and tell people you've done it. Because often when we do things, we don't reinforce the fact and remind people of the thing that we said we were going to set out to do. And cognitively, we think like that. So often when you do good deeds, or whether you do something at work, your manager or your peers make sure you reinforce back to them the things that you set out, because that's how you get people to follow and buy into your vision, your passion, or the strategy that you're trying to get them to adopt. And I've always done this. I'm a doer by trade, 30% strategy, 70% execution. So I don't waste too much time procrastinating about things. I put them into practice and do them. They may go wrong, that's fine, but at least I've tried. And then can fine tune and then change that around and try and course correct as time goes on. So this is me. So I did that myself. I think I was 18 months then. Nigerian family. My parents came here in 1959. So they were probably one of the first, certainly from my parents' village, which was in Leisure. They were the first to come over. My dad was a barrister here and worked on Lincoln's Inn. And my mum was a textile engineer. So we've got a bit of law, we've got a bit of engineering, and I ended up doing engineering as well. And I like the picture on the left a little bit because that was taken exactly 1 month before I was born. So actually my mum's handbag is resting probably on my head. This is my favourite picture of my parents. We'll come back to that later. So what do? I work for a company called Cisco. Anyone familiar with Cisco as a company? Yes. Hands up, anyone? Right, good, so I don't really need to explain too much. For those that don't know, pretty much about 75 to 80% of the internet is built on our equipment. So we've been going since 1984. We continue to transform our business as we now move into the new consumption models for IT. It's all about cloud, security, software, and managed services, and that's what we're kind of taking our company to. I've been with the company 18 years, and I've moved my way up that company. I started as an account manager, and I've moved up doing a variety of roles across Europe. I've headed up Europe, different divisions. I've headed up the Middle East, Africa, and Russia. So I've just started my new role leading Africa about 6 months ago. Previous to that, I was looking after the Middle East and Russia, and spent 4 years essentially pitched out in those different locations, everywhere from Moscow down to Johannesburg, the Africa part I looked after. But my day job now today is looking after all of our partnerships across Africa, and also looking after our commercial mid-market business, which is about $500 million. I was on Winding Road earlier actually in your presentation, but yeah, I mean, your career is never going to be linear, and my career certainly wasn't. You are going to face lots of hazards along the way. But the one thing I will tell you in life generally, and I'm sure none of you need to be told this, it's really how you navigate the turns of those challenges that makes the difference. I always say to my teams at work, I don't learn anything about my teams or people when times are good. I learn everything about them when times are challenging and hard, because that's when you see the character of people and see how they're able to navigate through difficult times, motivate their teams, or how me as a leader, I'm able to navigate my teams when times are tough. And believe me, I look after Africa today. I've got challenging markets. When I look at Nigeria at the moment, there's a lack of forex there. It's difficult to do business, but I've got a very happy and motivated team there because it's the way in which I lead them and ensure that they see the longer term vision. So that's one of the things that I would tell all of you now is your careers will never be linear. Very few are. So nothing that you really probably don't know already, but these are probably the key nuggets as I kind of wrap up. I've learned really that IQ only gets you so far. Your emotional intelligence takes you further. That's what actually makes the difference. So you'll probably read a very good book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. It's a very, very good book if you haven't read it, but it's all about the fact that your qualifications will get you so far, but you're going to have millions of other people who've got the same qualifications. It's then how do you navigate using your common sense, but also your emotional intelligence and how you engage with people. That's how people get roles, that's how people get promoted, that's how people move around. And I think for us, we have to learn about emotional intelligence and how to play that game and navigate that well. Often we don't. We feel that if we keep working harder and get more qualified, we're going to get up there. It ain't going to happen. I can tell you that from experience. Knowledge, confidence and risk. So knowledge is in the form of different things. It could be education, it could be understanding the market you're in, but knowledge gives you confidence. And when you have confidence, it allows you to take risks. And risks are the things that will differentiate you from the next person. So if you've got a passion or you've got something you want to do, you're better off trying that, even if it fails, than not trying at all. But actually when you've got the knowledge behind it, you've got solid backing, you get more confident, you'll take that risk. Network, I think we've talked about this, and certainly that's the one thing I do probably quite avidly. You have to network. The younger you are, network earlier. Network ahead of when you need that network or that connection. If any of you leave this room today and you haven't got enough business cards or made connections with people, then it's probably a failed evening for you. So use the opportunity. Self-awareness, one we don't always do well, but understand who you are as a person. I went away, and I have done it for probably about 3 or 4 times now. I go away probably every 4 or 5 years to a sanctuary, and I actually have some self-awareness around who I am as a person, what wires me, how I come across and how I show up to people, because you may think you're doing a great job, but you need to know how you're showing up to other people, and you need to be receiving feedback from others around and then analysing that externally to then understand what you need to improve or change or modify. And differentiate. The things that you're passionate about, follow them. Don't procrastinate over them, because someone else will come up with that idea and they'll just do it. Yeah? And there'll always be unconscious bias. Certainly for those people from minority backgrounds, understand it. Don't look at it and say, oh, I'm going to get this and that. Forget it. Just understand it's there. We all have our biases, whether you're black, white, green, purple. We all have them. Understand them and then learn how to navigate them. I use every opportunity or interaction with somebody to dispel any myth or any preconception they may have of me. Often they say perception is the co-pilot of reality, so therefore change the perception. And finally, disrupt yourself rather than get disrupted. I changed my role in Cisco. Although I've been there 18 years, I've had 7 jobs. I've always made the change. I haven't waited to make the change. So when I know my work's done, then I start to disrupt and look for the next opportunity. So again, don't get laboured in the same job, turning the same handle and expecting a different outcome. It won't happen. You need to disrupt it, otherwise somebody will disrupt you. Yeah? So I'll wrap up. Where do you want to be in your life? So you have a choice. You've got the moment of truth, which many of us do face at some point in our lives, and we have to decide what we want to do. You've got a choice. You can either look at all the excuses as to why you are not able to do those things, or you take full personal accountability and do something about it. And my challenge to many of you is that you've got to be able to do that and really look at it very carefully. Now, I'm going to come back to this, my parents, because they played a big role in my life. Or did they? Well, I lost my dad at 2, and I lost my mum at 11. So 11, I was homeless. And actually, I lived not too far away from here, in a hostel in Canning Town. And all I had to my name as I went through school from 11 to 15 or 14 or 16 rather when I left school was a bin liner. My bin liner had my blazer, all my stuff in it, and everything I owned. I had nothing else out there. The great thing about Anchor House is you can turn up 7 o'clock in the evening, you get a meal, you get a bed, and you get a bath, and you leave at 7 in the morning. My secondary school was 200 yards down the road on the Barking Road, so it was quite an easy route for me. So when you talk about accountability, I took accountability. I chose not to go to Bernardo's. I chose to take accountability because my mother at least taught me to be self-sufficient. So when you look at the fact that you've got excuses, everyone has them, everyone's got a backstory, but make sure you do something about it. And then sometimes you get a few little treats along the way, as I did last year, right, or this year actually, where I got to run at the Olympics as a torchbearer for a lot of the work I've done with my social enterprise, which has been a multi-award winning one for the last few years. So I'll leave you with that, and thank you for your time.